everyone's looking for the young guy. They're looking for McVay. I think take a shot out. Todd Bowles, get him a second shot at head coach and see if he can do it.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
It's crazy. And our kids will know how great Tom Brady is because he's going to be playing.
Yes, it is 15.0%.
That's what the Yankees brought Garrett Cole to do.
He was a 6th-round pick. This is a fairy tale story that's being written in front of our eyes.
People like to call them their JV team, and they just stole one of their better players.
They didn't struggle against the Padres. The Padres didn't really put up a fight in most of the games.
Jerry Jones, hope you're listening.
Hi, I'm Landon Bowe, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. You know, we were talking about the trade deadline last time, and the man that was there in that recording, Austin.
Yeah, the Stars need to make moves, Kevin, and they have. This is a big time of the year. They know that they are they're first in their division right now according to points, but points percentage, that'd still be the Jets, even though they beat the Jets last night as we're recording this. They needed some help on the D-line, and they ended up making a good move here.
Yeah, and we've been talking about the Stars. Like, it is, we both root for them. They're not your favorite team, of course, is the Bruins. They're my favorite team, but this is a big year for them because we've talked about they were on our Stanley Cup or bust. This really is the year, and it seems like they're pushing their chips in. I'm glad for a solid 5 minutes when I heard about rumors of the trade, I was freaking out because of it was a second round pick. I was afraid they traded Stankoven or Bork in that deal.
Yeah, and they obviously did not.
So for the listeners, this is huge because the only problem with the Stars is their D. We talked about it last year. We've harped on it a lot this year, but we talked about it during their playoff run. Because if you go to that game 2, their defense, Ryan Suter doesn't lose that puck, they probably win game 2. But after the game 2 loss, that's really the killer for me in last year's playoff run.
Yeah, that was huge, and they definitely are struggling to kind of become dominant this year. They've had good stretches, but they've yet to have a dominant stretch. I think their longest win streak this year was, from what I can see, is 4 games, and they struggled since the All-Star break, losing more games than they've won. But I think this move, getting Tanev, who has playoff experience, he was traded from the Flames, but he definitely was remembered more for playing with the Vancouver Canucks. He was on that long playoff run of theirs, played 17 games with them in 2020, and then was also on that last Calgary run to the second round.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, and the trade really came after the Stars lost 5-1 to the Colorado Avalanche, who they're fighting for that number 1 seed, as that's going to be huge because of just the division is stacked with Colorado, Jets, and the Stars. So I'll wait for mine because I'm very positive about this. What is your opinion on this trade overall?
I think it's really good. The fact that I think the highest pick they gave away, like you said, was a second, right?
Yes, and they have a conditional 3rd-round pick.
But that's only if they make the final.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm definitely confident this trade will be beneficial. I definitely think it also makes sense for the Flames because they are really struggling this year as well. They are near the bottom of their division. I know technically they're 5th, but they're not really contenders this year. They may make the playoffs. We'll see if they do, but defense was never their biggest problem. Right now they would be out. They would be the 10 seed tied with the St. Louis Blues and the Seattle Kraken, but this move kind of decides which way they're kind of going.
Yeah, and to talk about the Flames, I saw people on Twitter, they were shocked they didn't get a first for Tanev, but he's on a rental and he's 34. So I don't know much about that prospect. The only 3 Stars prospects I know are Bork, Stankoven, and I think there's like Liam Bushnell, who's a defender. But I know the guy was the lefty defenseman. But you got to give up some stuff. I really wouldn't give up Bork or Stankoven. It'd take a lot for me to give them up. But to the Stars, I'm glad you feel good about it too, because I feel really good about it because they just need defense. And from what I've read, Tanev is just a great defender. He's not a great offensive defenseman, but the Stars don't really need that. They just need a solid defender.
Their offensive defenseman is Heiskanen and Thomas Harley.
Thomas Harley,
yeah. So I think that they definitely know what they need, and they need a defensive defenseman. He fits their need.
And I'll mention this, and I'll have you probably know more about this and can go in more detail. Tanev is a right defenseman, which the Stars have struggled with. Or the Stars don't have many right defensemen. So is that a big point to you because I've heard about pairings and how that can help Heiskanen?
Yeah, it's all about feel. Realistically, you're in the NHL, you can play left or right. As a defenseman for over a decade, you could play either side. You just know what side you feel more comfortable on. And Heiskanen feels more comfortable on that left side because he likes to go to the middle and shoot. So having a good right defenseman is important. And I think what makes it even better, what makes Tanev so good is because when you're defensive, I think that makes it also to where you could really play both sides more than offensive. Because offensive, you're used to coming up that one side of the board. You're used to making plays on that one side. While if you're not really used to making plays or that's not your job, you could just play defensively on either side. And I think that the way that this team will play defense with Pete DeBoer's system, I think that they will very much benefit from having Tanev. And he's just a sound defenseman. He's not going to put up a lot of points, but that's not his job. You need defensemen like this. I know people are all looking into the stats, and it's really hard to quantify what makes a great defensive defenseman, but he is a very good one. I know it's on an expiring deal, which is why the Stars didn't have to give up more than just a second-round pick. But I think that this trade is very good for the Stars, especially as they do need a defenseman, and that's been very noteworthy throughout the past couple seasons.
Yeah, and I'll mention one more thing about Tanev and that defensive ability. He's the leader in block shots, I believe, or he's first.
Yeah, he's up there on the leaders in that.
And that's something, maybe it's not Pete DeBoer's system, or because last year Vegas was a team that blocked a lot of shots, and we saw them go to the Stanley Cup. So I'm wondering, maybe this is a guy Pete DeBoer really likes, a defenseman that overall is going to help, but a guy that can really help Pete DeBoer. And because Pete DeBoer has been harping on defense too, he's like, hey, we got to get back. And to bring this overall back to an overall point, the Stars this year, there's so much talent on this team that they're probably never going to have again next year. And that talent is Pavelski because of his age, and then Duchesne.
And now Tanev.
And now Tanev too. And then, of course, Jamie Benn, too. Tyler Seguin was playing better, but that you could argue that's because of Duchesne. Duchesne's on a 1-year deal. He's on $3 million, which is insane. Pavelski is on a deal, too. I hope he stays, but he's getting older in age, so we don't know. And then you got these young guys. We're talking about Stankoven, Wyatt Johnson. You got Robertson, Rupe. So this is why I think this is a huge opportunity, and I like that the Stars went out and got a defenseman.
The Stars know their situation. They know how desperate they need to win this year. They haven't obviously won since 1999. And the Stars, this year is the perfect combination of not just age and experience, but also play style. With Duchesne, like you said, he's not the youngest or the oldest, but he fits so well with the system, with Seguin, with his line mates. And then you add Chris Tanev to kind of be that beacon at the back of the defense to kind of help the Stars beat some of these teams that have high-ranked offenses. Because the Stars, ever since they got Pete DeBoer, has been a much more offensive-led team than they were beforehand. So now with Tanev, hopefully that they will have the guys necessary to defend. Because that's been their one issue. is making defensive plays, especially from defensemen, and that's their job. Hopefully this is what they need. But now we go on to the last question that we're going to have.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Like, we talking about them, like, they've done it too. The last 5 years, 3 times they've lost to the Stanley Cup champion. 2019, lost to the Blues. 2020, lost to the Lightning. Last year, lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. So I just wanted to add in, like, this is not, like, there's been hope. It's just, it's been heartbreak. So, yeah, I'll go back into that.
So this is the question that is asked in the title. Are the Stars done? Do they not need any more moves? If this was the playoff lineup fully healthy with the other players that they have, just imagine they're fully healthy. Is this all you need? Or are you still looking to add before the trade deadline?
I'm going to say, like, we're talking about the importance of this. I'm looking to add right now. I wouldn't be upset, but I want the Stars to go get one more defenseman. I wouldn't mess with their offense. Their offense looks amazing. And the player, like, Dodonov's injured, Sagan's injured, but then you got Stankoven, and it looks like Stankoven's going to be on the team, and maybe Bort comes up too. You also got Dellandrea. I can't forget about him. So I don't see the need for trading for a forward. I see the need for trading for a defenseman because you got Heiskanen and Harley as a pair. Is it then going to be Lindell and Tanev?
I mean, you probably would not. Lindell and Tanev are both defensive defensemen. You probably wouldn't put those two together. It would probably be Heiskanen, Tanev, Lindell, Harley. That would probably be what the top 4 would be. And
then you go, like, I don't know if Hakanpää, Suter, or is it going to be Lundqvist? Like, Lundqvist is in and out of the lineup.
It's probably Hakanpää, Suter.
Okay. But how do you feel about that?
I don't think it's the worst, especially if that ends up being the pairings. I don't like that they keep putting Suter and Heiskanen together. That's what they did last year in the playoffs, and that is not. Those are both offensive defensemen, and one of those offensive defensemen is way past his prime. I think the best situation would be Tanev, Heiskanen, Lindell, Harley, and then Suter and probably Hakanpää. But it could be Lundqvist, but it's probably Hakanpää.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not even all that big of a fan of Hakanpää. If you could get a better defensive defenseman.
I know a lot of people, I've been seeing, like, people do not like Hakanpää. So that's why I'm like, just one more. I think they have a little bit of room because the Tanev deal, they got him on a minimum because they also traded a 4th-round pick to the Devils, and the Devils took like 50% of his contract.
Yeah, so they won't have to pay him too much. But, like, if you look last year in the playoffs, some of their worst plus minus, let me check. Hakanpää, yeah, he was -3. And he was, I think, paired with who's he paired
Lindell.
with?
I want to say it was Lindell Hakanpää because I remember last year one of our friends was like, dude, I can't stand Lindell and Hakanpää. And
well, it's not even Lindell's fault because Lindell is not an offensive defenseman. He's a fine defensive defenseman. But when you pair that with someone who also isn't the best either way, he's just kind of middle both sides, it's really hard for you to defend or attack. So that really was their problem. And I think that this year they will have, I think it would be acceptable for them to be done. Like, I don't think that necessarily you're extremely mad if this is it. But if they could add another just top or bottom 2 pairing defensive defenseman that's maybe just defensive. Like, I know Tanev is just defensive, but he has some offensive capabilities. But I'm talking just a pure defensive defenseman to pair with Suter on that 3rd pairing. I think you would be even more set with how this team is looking.
Yeah, I share those same feelings. And to talk about, I'm going to ask another question. So you got Suter. We harped on Suter. Is Suter good enough to be a bottom 6 defenseman or bottom 2 pairing?
Yeah, so I think he is just because of experience reasons. Like, I know he's made mistakes, but that's because he's playing in the last 2 minutes of a game. And that's where I think that he can be exposed for his lack of. I don't think there's a better way to describe it, but skill, I guess, at this time in his career. Like, he's a skillful guy, but at the same time, his speed is down and his reaction time is down. But if he could just be a 15 minutes a night in the middle of the game where he can kind of use his experience to take advantage of third and fourth offensive lines on the other team, I think he could be beneficial. You're already paying him this amount of money, and I think that he could be good enough to be a six or a bottom two pairing.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and so we'll have to see what the pairings are. I think Tanev should be with the Stars this upcoming week. I know he's figuring out visa issues. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this trade. I'm really excited about it. And it seems like things are starting to get kicked off on the trade market because I know the Ducks made a trade with the Maple Leafs.
Yes, they did. And I think this trade market's really going to start ramping up, especially in the West, between all those teams. And we've already seen the Jets make a move getting Sean Monahan. The Stars make a move for Chris Tanev. Avalanche, it's your call now. It's on to you. Who are you going to trade for or make a move for? Because all three of these teams are so close.
Yeah, and big years for all of them. And that's all we got. We'll tease you off. And thank you for listening. Make sure you're checking the channel for a lot of stuff happening. We know we had a little teaser, a little short drop today for Jeopardy. That's coming up March 8th, 10 a.m. There's also a big trailer. And that's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.